Our next speaker, also a new member giving an icebreaker, was born in Kingston, New York, graduated from Birmingham University with an economics degree, and is now a supply officer in the Navy. He's been in the Navy for 11 years, currently studying financial management in his first semester. His previous duty stations have been Pearl Harbor, Pensacola, Florida, Key West, Florida, and San Diego. Does that mean Toastmasters clubs and all those places? Let's see, he is married and he has a 2-month-old son named Luke. Giving his icebreaker speech today entitled Photographic Memories, please help me welcome John Armstrong.
Madam Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, everyone I'm sure has heard the expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And while I enjoy reading a lot, most of the time I would much rather look at a good photograph than a long narrative on something. The great Ansel Adams said, "Not everyone trusts paintings, but people trust photographs. People believe photographs." A single photograph can mean so many things and convey so much truth, and it's amazing to think just how much attention and discussion has been paid to some of the most famous photographs over the past few years. I'm going to talk about photography and why it's so appealing to me. Now, what I won't be addressing, as some of you may have thought based on the title, is having a good memory. But just remember, as I recently read, everybody has a photographic memory. Some don't have film. Like me. Which is why I will be reading a lot of this today. Photography has never really appealed to me from an artist's standpoint. Growing up in Kingston, New York, I never had much interest in looking at it or reading about art. I was more of a science, math type guy. But I always enjoyed looking at a good photograph. We were one of those families that had loads of photo albums that hardly saw the light of day. And stacks of processed film prints still waiting for their big day of graduation to album status. I remember feeling sad for all those poor photos when I was younger. Not sad enough to actually put them in a photo album, but a little sad nonetheless. I never showed the least bit of aptitude in art going through school, but as I got older, I started to develop more of a liberal arts type mindset. Going through college, I tried just about every major that they had, finally settling on economics, both because I could graduate in 4 years and because I showed a little bit of proficiency in it. I got my first camera when I was around 10 or 11, and I remember treasuring it. It wasn't a fancy camera by any means, just a basic 35mm Minolta. I enjoyed taking pictures with it though, up to the point I took it to the beach and learned a photography lesson the hard way. Camera and sand do not mix well. I dabbled in photography through high school and college, nothing very serious, until I got my first digital camera, a toy that still continues to amaze me. The whole science behind photography intrigues me, and one day I hope to get around to studying it. But to me, the digital camera is such a big improvement over a film camera. Now you don't have to bother taking the film to a store to get processed, which never really appealed to me. I can see the results now of my efforts instantly. And if I didn't like it, all I had to do was hit the delete button. Now I know there are purists that will never convert over to the dark side, digital, but for me, it's the way to go. No more stacks and stacks of prints lying around, waiting to be put in albums. Now, of course, I have hundreds and hundreds of electronic pictures sitting in my hard drive, gathering electronic dust. But hey, at least they don't take up that much space. Maybe a lot of memory space, but that's about it. My older sister, Alana, was very interested in photography in college. In fact, my grandfather built a darkroom down in her basement for her to use. Sadly, the darkroom is no longer there, but she still has the Canon she got from school and has used to take many great photos with. From an artist standpoint, I think she's a much better photographer than me, but I think looking at all her great photos growing up gave me an interest to want to pursue it as well. A Christmas present from my father-in-law this past year, a Nikon D40X, has really renewed my interest in photography. It is by far the most capable camera I've ever owned. It can do a lot of things my 4-year-old Sony cannot do, although I have taken a lot of good shots with that camera, and I still have it. In the beginning, I did not feel good enough to own a camera such as this one. I didn't think my photography skills were up to the standard, but I found it is quite simple to use, and the 100+ page instruction booklet was printed and understandable in English. I am looking forward to taking my new camera up to some state and national parks while I'm in Monterey with my family, do some hiking, which I also enjoy doing, and taking some good pictures. I love to be outdoors, and to be able to take pictures while I'm doing it, well, it can't get much better than that. As I get older, and as my family is growing with 2-month-old Luke, I'm starting to realize more and more the memories I want to hold on to and remember. And picture taking is a way to do that. I've already taken a good number of pictures of the little guy, and my father-in-law, who admits giving us the present with some ulterior motives, is very happy when we send him a CD with pictures of Luke on it. One segment of photography that really interests me is landscape and nature photography. I also seem to like pictures of lighthouses. A tour of my house that I'm renting at Seaside will give you ample proof of this. I think my wife has reached the limit of my lighthouse obsession though, and it's probably a good thing because we're just about out of space on our walls. I've never been much of a video camera guy. I like the idea of capturing a moment and freezing it and being able to look at it later on. For example, that video camera right there, I'd much rather prefer it to be a camera. But I have the feeling my father-in-law will put some pressure on me to get a video camera, as a gift perhaps, and I'm sure there will be some ulterior motive behind that as well. But I think learning how to use a Nikon camera I have will keep me busy enough for the time being. Looking at the past is one reason I think I've taken a liking to photography. I enjoy history more and more as I've gotten older. I get so much enjoyment out of a book if it has pictures in it, as well as print. Growing up and going through high school, I never had much of an interest in history, surprisingly. But I think most of us can agree as we get older, our tastes have a way of changing. And we are fervent about new things. I have to be careful, though, because sometimes I think I use picture taking as a metaphor for looking back on the past and dwelling about the past. I've struggled with being a worrier throughout my life. I've gotten better with it, I think, as years have gone by, but I still have a lot to work on. But I think, in the end, I can still enjoy photography and photographs without dwelling on the past and still look forward to the photographic memories that are in the future. Thank you.